Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer, and welcome to a Pro Cycling Manager 2024 tutorial for career mode and the beginning of season preparation. We'll cover differences in the three competitive tiers, managing objectives, and how to be efficient while simultaneously being thorough in your preparation. Looking first at objectives, the goal is always to increase funding, done by achieving the highest combined rating. Objectives are negotiable and vital to success. Aim high with targets for more funding, but be reasonable on what you can achieve, otherwise you'll fall short of your objectives and limit your funding. Best practice is to maximize the number of targets over the season to bring the max rating higher, but make each reasonable, based on team strengths, to remain balanced. Preparing a season in Continental is the most straightforward. You have two primary goals: increase funds and sign better riders to reach the next tier. For funds, focus your race calendar around the sponsor objectives. When possible, pick your strongest team for all objectives and give those riders as many race objectives coordinated with the sponsor objectives as possible without overloading their schedule. Manually select the team for every objective race on day one. For efficiency, let the AI assistant fill in the remainder of the calendar and quick sim the non-objective races. On signing day, select a combination of the best talents and best prospects. Take shorter contracts, as you'll likely climb quickly to find better talents and prospects in future seasons, where you can then sign those longer contracts. Once reaching Continental Pro, things get more complex. Adding to the goals of increasing funds and signing better riders is getting into the best races possible, which provides the best opportunities to both increase funds and gain access to better riders. At the end of the season, the top two ranked teams that will compete in Continental Pro the next season will have an advantage when it comes to requesting World Tour races. Thus, the goal in your first season is to finish in the top two of the rankings at the end of the year. If you're not heading straight to World Tour, that is. The higher the competitive tier of race, the higher the possible points haul. So, to get a top two, you need to spam the biggest races you can get into, meaning day one, request every World Tour and .pro race on the whole of the calendar. Then focus your season on racing all of those to get the points necessary. Starting from season 2, if you achieve the requisite top 2, you'll have far better options with a full slate of World Tour races and can now focus entirely on World Tour races from this point on. Whether Continental Pro or World Tour, once you have a World Tour calendar, you can now be much more selective on objectives and what races you personally want to focus on. With a higher value, the sponsors are easier to please, riders are easier to sign, and you can cater to your team's strengths, i.e. classics, sprints, stage races, etc. Preseason fitness comes with 4 options. Very high brings riders in too early, increases fatigue over the season. Low takes too long to get competitive. That leaves you with 2 choices, normal or high. My preference is normal, though either normal or high works. For me, high gets you fit sooner, but still leads to fatigue issues. So I stick to normal for all my riders and sacrifice some early season form to lower the risk of fatigue issues later in the season. In the calendar, organized by category, select Add for all higher tier races. Then repeat the process for each of the 4 seasons. You could do that entirely on the first of the year, but if you're just looking to add a few higher tier objectives, you can apply to a handful per day till you get enough invites to complete your needs. As a Continental Pro team, World Tour races take a couple months into the season before you'll know all the races you got into. Sponsors will get you into some races and give a clear path to setting objectives. For rider objectives and other competitive tiers, you can schedule your entire year a couple days into the season. For Continental Pro, I'd recommend scheduling your first quarter and known objectives right away. Then, as races are added to the calendar, you can adjust objectives. First task is to select all and delete the AI set of objectives. It helps to make a list of your sponsor objectives in order of importance, review each objective and race profile to determine the team's specialty to bring to the race, i.e. classics with a puncher profile, or climbers with a leader that also has a good prologue rating, and make note of this. Next, select your most important objective, organize your team by the most important attribute, and pick a full team that fits the race profile. Repeat this process for your most important objectives. As you get further down the list, select less than a full team, but make sure that at least a leader or top support rider has each assigned as an objective. Lastly, repeat the process for non-objective key races. One major thing to watch out for is overburdening your squad with objectives. Objectives are the main path toward fatigue. You have to space them out to allow recovery time. Best practice is to have one or no more than 2 or 3 in a back-to-back group of races, i.e. 3 classics over 4 days. 6 to 7 maximum objectives per rider, but over just 4 periods of the season. The objectives page is split into 4 periods, but be careful to monitor dates, as something in the late middle of one period will be too close to an objective that happens at the beginning of the next period of the season. A minimum gap between objectives is 6 weeks, which will hurt fatigue. So aim for 8 weeks or more where possible. Finally, head to the planner and fill in all race objectives. Then fill out the remaining slots on all your key races, keeping note of rest or not overloading your riders. You can leave the auto planning assistant on to assign domestiques and moderately used support riders to all the inferior races. If a leader's schedule is already filled in, they will rarely, if at all, get selected by the AI for minor races. Throughout the video, I showed off strategies on utilizing the sponsor objectives, preseason fitness, calendar, rider objectives, and planner screens while discussing the different approaches at each competitive level. Hopefully this will help you be efficient and thorough in your preparations for each season. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Thanks for being here. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.